I first noticed her at Maurice's wine bar around 7:31 Wednesday night. The bar was relatively quiet, with only about 10 patrons scattered around, mostly in pairs or small groups. Like me, she was sitting alone at the end of the bar, quietly sipping her drink. It was unusual to see a woman alone at Maurice's, especially one as attractive as her. From where I sat across the room, I couldn't help but notice her. She seemed lost in thought, gazing at the bottles behind the bar, unaware of her surroundings and oblivious to my presence. I can still vividly recall her outfit that night, a powder blue top paired with a black skirt that revealed just enough thigh to pique interest without being provocative. Her legs, clad in black tights, looked shapely in strappy sandals with moderate heels. Her makeup struck a balance, neither too understated nor too bold. After finishing her drink, she got up quietly, picked up her bag, and left the bar with careful steps across the room. My eyes followed her, but she didn't notice me. In that moment, I was captivated by her. I frequented Maurice's quite often back then, dropping by maybe 3 or 4 times a week, but I didn't see her again until the following Wednesday. She occupied the same seat at the bar, blonde hair cascading over her shoulders, this time dressed in tight denim jeans and a pink jacket. Once again, she stared into the liquor bottles across from her, completely absorbed in her own thoughts. After one drink, she left before I could muster the courage to approach her. I was smitten. The next week, I meticulously planned my strategy for Wednesday. Arriving early, I positioned myself 3 stools away from her usual spot at the bar. It didn't take long for her to arrive and settle in, her skirt revealing a hint of thigh as she sat down. I cursed myself for not daring to take the stool next to hers, fearing I might scare her off. "Usual, Laura?" Maurice asked. She nodded, and he poured her drink from one of the bottles lined up behind the bar. He fetched a small bottle from the cooler, opened it, and placed both the bottle and glass in front of her. £1.80, please, Laura, Maurice said, to which she nodded and quietly thanked him. She retrieved a note from her purse, meticulously counted her change, and stowed it away before placing the purse back in her handbag. Sipping her drink slowly, she stared ahead, seemingly unaware of her surroundings. Meanwhile, I tried to steal glances at her discreetly, my palms growing clammy as I waited for the right moment to say hello and introduce myself, to buy her a drink and learn why she seemed so solitary and melancholy. But before I could make a move, she finished her drink in one gulp, grabbed her bag, and stood up. Perhaps she had sensed my intentions and left to avoid any awkwardness. I watched her exit the bar and head toward the car park. "Don't get too excited," Maurice remarked as the door closed behind her. "It's a guy." It didn't quite register at first. "She's a man?" I asked, confused. "Yes," the bartender replied matter-of-factly. "Laura is transgender. That's why she prefers that stool. She can see herself in the mirror behind the bar, ensuring she looks presentable, with no smudged makeup and her hair in place." "I would never have guessed," I replied, astonished. I finished my beer and headed home, which was unusual for me as I typically stayed out all evening. However, Maurice's revelation about Laura lingered in my mind. Instead of being deterred by the bartender's information, I found myself even more drawn to her. I wanted to know her even more now. The following week, breaking my usual routine, I drove to the wine bar. I parked in the car park and waited in the dim light for Laura to arrive. Like clockwork, she pulled up in a small blue Nissan, unaware of my watchful gaze from my car. She spent what seemed like an eternity checking her makeup in the mirror before finally getting out. She locked her car carefully and walked slowly towards the bar door. She looked incredibly feminine. It was hard to reconcile Maurice's words with the image before me. After a brief wait, I noted down her registration number and then entered the bar. I ordered a beer and settled at a table across the room where I could observe Laura. She was seated on her usual stool, sipping her drink and focused on her reflection. I doubted she even noticed my presence. The next day, I contacted an old-school friend who was a police constable. I asked if he could help me find the owner's name and address from the car registration number. He agreed without prying into my reasons, knowing there would be a drink in it for him. By Friday, he called me back with the details. The owner was Simon Gray, residing about a mile away from me. On Saturday, I visited the local library and checked the electoral roll for the address provided. Sure enough, there was only one registered elector, Simon Gray. Cross-referencing with the phone book, I found the name S. Gray matched the address. The next Wednesday, I drove to the address and parked about 50 yards away, ensuring a good view of the house without drawing attention. Initially, there was no car in sight, and I began to doubt myself. Suddenly, the garage door opened automatically, revealing the blue Nissan. It parked on the driveway, and the garage door closed behind it before the car reversed onto the road. I could see Laura behind the wheel before she sped away. After waiting a few minutes, I headed to Maurice's. As expected, the Nissan was in the car park, and she was seated at her usual spot, fixated on her reflection in the mirror. It occurred to me that she likely accessed the garage from inside the house, using a remote control to operate the door. This way, she could avoid being seen in public. I watched her sip her drink, already formulating plans in my mind. Should I call her? What would I say? Countless ideas ran through my head, none of them seeming quite right. After several days of fruitless deliberation, I decided to simply pick up the phone and play it by ear. It was Sunday morning. "Hello," a male voice answered. "Can I speak to Laura, please?" "Who? Laura?" The man sounded surprised. "Sure, I'll get her for you." "Laura," he called out loudly. There was a brief pause. "Hello, who is this?" I heard a soft, nervous voice say. "You don't know me, but my name's David Turner," I began, hesitating. I hadn't planned out what to say next, it just came out. "I often go to Maurice's wine bar. I've seen you there." I trailed off, unsure. On the other end, Laura seemed equally puzzled. "And?" she prompted. "I was wondering if you could help me with something," I blurted out. It wasn't what I intended to say, but there it was. I hoped she might take pity on me. "Have you done this before?" she asked cautiously. "No, never," I admitted honestly, "but I've always wanted to," I added, stretching the truth. "Can I think about it?" "What was your name again?" she asked. I told her my name and gave her my phone number. "Think it over and give me a call back, okay?" I didn't really expect her to call back. Girls never do, and by Wednesday, I hadn't heard anything. I was at home getting ready to head to Maurice's around 6 when the phone rang. "Hello. David?" "Yes. It's Laura," she said in a breathless, low voice. "I'd like to help you, but I don't know you. How can I trust you? Will you be at the wine bar later?" "Yes," I replied, feeling a glimmer of hope. "How will I recognize you?" "I'm average height, thin, around 30, with short dark hair." "What will you be wearing?" "I'll be in a burgundy jacket," I assured her. "And I'll be drinking a pint of Guinness. That should make me easy to spot." "Okay, listen," she said firmly. "Don't speak to me at the wine bar. If you do, they'll think you're some kind of pervert. Wait until after I've left. 5 minutes after I'm gone, come out to the car park. My car's a blue Nissan. If I'm still there, it means I'm willing to help. If not, consider it called off. 5 minutes exactly, all right?" "Yeah. And don't you dare approach me inside or it's off." "I understand. And if I say no, don't you dare call me again, got it?" "Yes." "See you later," she said and hung up. My mind raced. I dashed upstairs for a quick shower, determined to look my best. After shaving and dressing in my best shirt and newest jeans, I was ready. An hour later, nervous as ever, I sat in the wine bar with a pint of Guinness before me, feeling uncomfortably warm in my burgundy jacket. Would she show up? She had to. The door opened and in she walked, looking stunning as always, heading straight to her stool. "Usual, Laura?" Maurice asked. She nodded, and he prepared her drink as usual. Was it my imagination, or was her skirt shorter than before? Was her lipstick redder? Was it for me? No, I was overthinking. She hadn't even glanced my way. £1.80, please, Laura, Maurice said as she finished her drink. 15 minutes later, she rose to leave, never acknowledging my presence. No sign, no smile, no hope, I thought, checking my watch anxiously. Seconds ticked by, my palms growing clammy, nerves nearly overwhelming me. Could I really go through with this? Would she? At 4 minutes and 45 seconds, I stood and headed for the car park, praying she'd still be there and Maurice wouldn't catch sight of me. I opened the bar door, then the outer door, and there it was, miraculously, the blue Nissan with her inside. I walked around to the passenger side, opened the door, and climbed in. I caught a whiff of perfume. Was it for my benefit? "Hi," I said tentatively. "I'm David." She smiled, her expression visible in the dim light. "Hi," she whispered softly, "I'm Laura." I couldn't help noticing her legs. Even in the darkness, her skirt appeared shorter than before. Was it the way she was sitting, or had she changed for me? Was that why she insisted on waiting 5 minutes? Changing a skirt in a car seat wouldn't be easy. "Your place or mine?" she asked. "I don't mind," I replied. "My place is closer." "Okay," she agreed, "but first, we'll need some money." "Money?" "Yes, if you're serious about dressing as a woman, it will cost you," she explained. "I'll need to buy clothes, shoes, makeup, a wig, and other supplies." The mention of equipment sent a shiver down my spine. What sort of equipment did she mean? "How much are we talking about?" I asked cautiously. $250 to start with. "Is that okay?" "Yes," I agreed, realizing she meant £250. My plans for a new camera would have to wait. She shifted the car into gear and we drove off. "I hope you don't mind, but I've done some snooping to check up on you," she confessed. "A girl like me has to be cautious. I found your address in the phone book and visited your neighbors, disguised as a man, of course. I told them I was from the police, investigating your application to run a nightclub. I asked them about your reliability, whether you'd ever been violent, that sort of thing. I'm sorry, but I had to be sure." "Don't worry," I reassured her, somewhat taken aback by her thoroughness. "But what do I say if they ask me about my nightclub?" "Just tell them you're a silent partner. Anyway, they all speak highly of you. They think you're very considerate for looking after Mrs. What's-her-name's cat while she's away. But I still wanted to see you tonight to make sure we're a good match in size, otherwise, this wouldn't work." We arrived at my house, parking behind my car on the drive. If any neighbors were peeking through their curtains, they might have mistaken our arrival for a business meeting of my supposed nightclub partners. I helped her carry a suitcase from the trunk. Did it contain this mysterious equipment? Opening the front door, we stepped inside. It was the first time I saw Laura up close in good lighting. She was stunning, and her skirt was indeed shorter. "Coffee?" I offered. She nodded, and we moved to the kitchen. While the kettle boiled, I retrieved £250 and handed it over to her. We sat in the living room, sipping our coffee. "You've never dressed as a woman before, David?" she inquired gently. "No," I admitted. "Not even tried on your sister's or your mum's clothes as a kid?" "Sometimes," I fibbed. "Me too," she admitted. "When I first moved here, I didn't dress for 3 years. I guess I was in denial, wanting to fit in with the boys, you know, be macho. Then one day, I saw this beautiful dress in a shop window while shopping. I couldn't resist. It was for my girlfriend, I told myself. That purchase started it all, and here I am now." "You're in denial too, aren't you?" I suppose I am, I falsely agreed. Do you find it stressful? She asked. Yes, I admitted. I dress as Laura about 3 or 4 times a week. If I don't, I get really stressed out. But as soon as I put on a skirt, I feel completely relaxed. I don't know why I go to Maurice's, but I think it's my way of proving something. Look at me, I can pass as a girl. I love sitting at that stool, knowing men are looking at me, my face, my hair, my legs, my body. It gives me a sense of power. Though it can be a hassle if men start hitting on me. That's when Maurice really helps, he warns them off. Yes, I concurred. It's not easy being a tranny, she said frankly, but it's fun. She smiled warmly. Speaking of which, it's time we got to work on you. I gulped nervously. I hope you're sincere. I met a guy a couple of years ago who asked for my help dressing, only to find out he had other intentions. You're not like that, are you? No, I assured her, though it wasn't entirely true. Men often don't understand, she continued. Just because I enjoy wearing skirts doesn't mean I'm interested in them. I nodded, feeling my evening had taken a turn for the worse. I had lost 250 pounds, committed to dressing as a girl, and the object of my affection wasn't even interested in men. It was too late to back out now. By the way, do you have a name picked out? She asked. No, I admitted. Well, you could go with Danielle. Is that too obvious? What about Samantha? I like that name. Do you? Okay, I agreed, beyond caring. Laura unzipped her suitcase and retrieved a bottle. All right, Samantha, she instructed me, be a good girl and take a shower. Rub this stuff all over your body. Leave it on for 5 minutes and then rinse it off. It'll remove all the hair. When you're done, put this on. She handed me a piece of equipment. It's called a gaff. You wear it over your male organ, pull it between your legs, and tie it around your waist. It gives you a flat front. I wear one all the time, at least when I'm Laura. These panties should fit. She passed me a pair of white cotton panties with a delicate lace trim. Then come back here. All right? I had no choice. A few minutes later, all my body hair was disappearing down the drain. I emerged from the bathroom, shivering in just my gaff and panties, finding Laura waiting for me in the living room. I bet you're eager to get dressed, but first, you'll need a feminine chest. These are silicone forms. They stick to your chest and look very realistic. She proceeded to attach the silicone forms to my chest. They're easy to remove, but for now, you'll need a bra, she added, helping me find one that matched the panties. She assisted me in putting on the bra, fastening it at the back. Then she found a pair of black tights. I sat on the sofa, rolled them into a donut, and pulled them up my smooth legs. Surprisingly, my hairless legs looked quite nice in the tights. I was also surprised at how much I enjoyed the feel of the nylon against my skin. Stand up, she instructed, pulling out a white petticoat from the suitcase. I stood up, and she pulled the petticoat over my head. I smoothed it down over my hips. It was very short. Was this a sign of things to come? It seemed it was, as she then pulled out a black dress from the suitcase. I picked this one because the fabric is stretchy and fits all sizes. It really hugs your body. That's why it's my favorite dress, though I've never worn it to Maurice's, it's too short. She slipped the dress over my head and pulled it down. As she said, it was short, but at least I was a bit warmer. I was surprised at how comfortable and soft the clothes felt. I walked around the room, feeling the swish of the petticoat against my thighs. It wasn't nearly as bad as I had imagined. Laura then offered to do my makeup. Sitting in a chair in the middle of the room, she began applying cosmetics from her suitcase. She tidied my eyebrows, applied foundation and blush, followed by eyeshadow, eyeliner, and mascara. Finally, she applied bright lipstick. She found a shoulder-length brunette wig, adjusted it on my head, and styled it with spray and brush until satisfied. I was eager to see how I looked, but Laura wasn't finished yet. She painted my fingernails a deep red, and while they dried, she found a gold necklace, a bracelet, and a pair of clip-on earrings. Finally, she asked, "What shoe size are you?" "An 8? These are 7s, so they might be a bit snug." She handed me a pair of black ankle boots with a 3-inch heel. Sitting back on the sofa, I slipped them on, conscious of the short dress I wore. They were tight but fit. I stood up awkwardly in the boots, feeling strangely good. I walked around the room again, adjusting to the new sensations. "Wow, you look absolutely stunning," Laura remarked, "so feminine." Glancing at her watch, she continued, "It's getting late. I should head off." The process of transforming me had taken nearly 2 hours. "I'll go shopping tomorrow evening to pick up some essentials for you. I'll bring them over on Friday night. Does 7 o'clock work for you?" Before I could respond, she added, "You can hang on to my things until then. Remember to remove your makeup before bed. Good night, Samantha." She approached me, giving me a warm hug. Then, unexpectedly, she kissed me gently on the cheek. Just as I thought she was leaving, she kissed me on the lips. Suddenly, her tongue parted my lips, and our lips and tongues intertwined. I could taste her lipstick, and I'm sure she could taste mine. The kiss grew more intense as she ran her hands down my back, and I responded in kind. Soon, she lifted the back of my dress and caressed my buttocks. She raised my petticoat and tugged down my tights and panties slightly, massaging my buttocks as our passionate kiss continued. With one hand, I lifted the hem of her skirt and felt the soft skin of her thighs. I could feel myself becoming aroused, aware that the gaff couldn't conceal it much longer. As abruptly as it had begun, the kiss ended. "Good night, Samantha," Laura said. "See you on Friday." "Good night, Laura," I replied, slightly perplexed. "But I thought you weren't interested in men." "Samantha, honey, take a look in the mirror. You ain't no man." She walked to the front door, opened it, winked at me, and then left. I heard her car drive away, and I gazed at myself in the mirror. Okay, my lipstick was smudged, but Laura was right. Staring back at me was not a man but an attractive young woman. Instead of rushing upstairs to change back into my usual clothes, I remained dressed as Samantha for the rest of the evening. I explored Laura's suitcase, examining its contents. There was a baby doll nightie that I wore to sleep that night. The next evening, when I returned home from work, I slipped into a lovely skirt and blouse ensemble. Though my makeup skills couldn't match Laura's, I adored my new appearance. I eagerly awaited Laura's visit on Friday.